You See Me is a spooky story from Mexico about a young man who breaks an old superstition when he makes plan with his girlfriend. There are many superstitions in Mexico. Some of these ancient beliefs have been passed from generation to generation, and others are followed because of warnings from elders and past experiences. One well known superstition is that you should never make plans with friends or families outdoors in the dark of night. The reason for this, the older folk says, is that there are always things lurking in the darkness, listening and waiting for the perfect opportunity to trick you, take advantage of you, and destroy you. This is a story about something that happened to my grandfather when he was a young man. His name was Josh, and he was just 20 years old at that time. He was working as a fisherman in the small coastal village where he was born. He still lived with his mother, and his girlfriend, Raven, lived just down the street from him. Her family owned a small boat and fished in the same area as George. One night after fishing work, he met Raven and they went out for a quiet drink together. When the bar closed, they decided to head home, and their journey took them by an old cemetery. As they made their way down the lonely country road, there was only the light of the moon to guide them in the darkness. When they reached Joe's house, he said to his girlfriend, "Hey, Raven, let's leave a little early tomorrow so we can cast our nets out before everyone else gets to the shore." "That's a good idea," Raven replied. "We can leave around 5 a.m. tomorrow." "Well, it's still dark. I will come to the front yard to pick you up, so be ready to go when I call you." "See you in the morning," said George as he kissed her good night. They waved to each other and went their separate ways. Early the next morning, George was awoken by the sound of someone calling his name. "Hey, George, wake up, let's go." George dragged himself out of the bed and looked out the window. He saw Raven standing in the front yard, staring up at him. When he glanced at the clock, he saw that it was 4:30 a.m. "You are early," he called. "Just give me a minute." "Hurry up," shouted Raven. "It will be bright soon." Josh quickly dressed and grabbed his things. When he ran downstairs and opened the front door, he saw Raven was already walking down the road. "Hey, wait for me," called Josh initially, but Raven didn't turn around. She just kept on walking. Josh ran after her and tried to catch up with her, but then Raven started running too. He thought this was strange, and when he slowed down, so did Raven. She never looked back and just kept the same distance between them. Eventually, they neared their favorite spot for fishing, which was only a few minutes away. To get there, they had to cross a deep trench with a narrow bridge across it. When Raven came to the middle of the bridge, she suddenly stopped and stood very still. Her back was to George and he couldn't see her face. For some reason, George got a weird feeling in the pit of his stomach. Something felt wrong to him. Raven was acting very strange and he was afraid to get on the bridge at the same time as her. So he called out to her and told her to go on ahead, saying he needed to tie his shoelace. As George bent down to tie his shoe, Raven turned round to face him. That's when he saw it. She was grinning from ear to ear, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was a smile he had ever seen on his girlfriend's face before. It was as if her features were twisted into an evil grimace. All of a sudden, Raven threw himself off the side of the narrow bridge. Josh got to his feet and simply stared in shock. He did not know what to do. He was so stunned he could barely believe what had happened. Just then he heard Raven screaming, George, help me, please help me. Instinctively, he ran towards the bridge and peered over the edge. He could not see her anywhere. Raven, where are you? He cried out desperately. I can't see you. Where are you? He just kept hearing Raven's voice screaming, help me, please help me. George was about to jump into the trench to save his girlfriend when something made him stop to his tracks. He hadn't noticed it until now, but in between Raven's scream, she was laughing. It wasn't a normal laugh, though it seemed maniacal and mischievous, almost diabolical. Josh felt the blood freeze in his veins. Shaking like a leaf, he backed away from the bridge. Something told him he was in danger. The instinct made him turn around and run in the opposite direction. He dashed down the road towards his house as fast as he could. Joe was so scared that he ran straight into his house and went upstairs to wake his mother. She was laying in the bed, and when she saw Joe's pale face, she knew something was wrong. Her son could hardly speak. He was overwhelmed by fear and guilt. He could not help feeling that he may have left his girlfriend to drawn back there. What's wrong, Josh? Asked her mother. His mother. You look like you have seen a ghost. I don't know, Mama, he whispered. I think something horrible has happened to Raven. His mother hugged him tightly as he cried on her shoulder. Just then he heard a voice calling him from the yard. Hey, Josh, woke up, let's go. He got up and looked out the window. He saw Raven standing in the front yard, starting up at him. When he glanced at the clock, he saw that it was 5:10 a.m. I'm sorry I'm late, she said cheerfully.